Next one is oscillators. As you know, oscillators are very, very important devices which are used in receivers for doing the job of mixing. Okay, so oscillators are very, very important in the RF transceivers because every mixer circuit is derived by, is driven by an oscillator. And there are certain requirements what you have for oscillator. One is the purity of output, how consistently it can generate the same oscillations for a period of time. And second one is the interface specifications. Okay, frequency range. So depends upon GSM means I need 900 megahertz. So your LO frequency must cover this band. It must cover 900 megahertz GSM band. So additional band of frequency should always be considered to provide tolerance in case there is a shift in frequency, how your circuit is going to adjust. The actual frequency will actually depend on the various issues which are happening inside the oscillator, and direct conversion transceiver will involve just one IF, right? So we are going to operate only at one intermediate frequency. So direct conversion transceiver will employ quadrature phase angle. So you will have in phase and quadrature phase. So you will have sine and cos and the receiver architecture. Output voltaging, what is the maximum peak to peak voltage provided by the oscillator? This is very, very important because if the oscillator is not strong, then the mixer will become very weak. So mostly if you are going to use an 1 volt supply, you will get 1 volt peak to peak in the oscillator output. So if you use VCC, VCC will be available at the output as the peak to peak voltage. Then drive, how your oscillators can drive large load, that is called as drive capability. Or if you are going to use a frequency synthesizer to obtain different frequencies from a single frequency, it must drive lot of capacitance to form a divide by n network. And all oscillators are prone to be affected by this noise called as phase noise, and it has an effect on the transmitters and receivers. Unfortunately, phase noise uh, is related with all the parameters, and it is very challenging to deal with phase noise because it will degrade the quality factor of your circuit. And output waveform, whether consistently it is producing the same output waveform or there's a change in shape of the waveform. So there should be some mechanism to ensure that the waveform is not going to change. Okay, so that should be consistently checked so that the oscillators are going to work well. For this reason, the amplitude is chosen large, and switching transistors also provide abrupt current switching. The balanced mixers are going to outperform the other things in terms of differential waveform. And other things, supply sensitivity. Because of change in VCC or VDD, what parameters of oscillators are going to change? So that also has to be considered, because when the VDD or VCC is going to change, it may introduce some noise into the circuit, so which will go along with the useful signal. Okay, so that has to be taken care because of our supply variation, how the oscillator performance is going to be affected. And finally, power dissipation. Oscillator is also going to have active elements. So what is the power dissipated by the oscillator to generate the oscillations? So that also has to be considered in a proper way.